sentence you to 18 months in prison.
Lying little whore.
There was life before Corrie, but as they say, it wasn't up to much.
You were all thinking it. I just said it out loud.
At 7 p.m. on the 9th of December 1960, the first episode of Coronation Street hit our screens. There was no going back.
It had literally gone. What happened was just a bit of Corrie magic.
After 7,500 episodes, the appetite for all things Corrie is bigger than ever.
It's a wonderful show, and it'll go on forever.
Today, the street is watched in around 40 countries worldwide.
It's a great privilege. I love working on Coronation Street.
I enjoy my work 100%.
And yet it still feels like our nation's street.
In every little house, there's sadness, there's laughter, ups and downs.
They say television's killed live entertainment.
Over the years, we've seen over 10,000 characters and just as many twists and turns.
1 minute you're chucking stuff out of a window.
Hitting people with shovels and crowbars.
But which is Coronation Street's greatest ever story?
I could see this little character in my mind when I read the script.
We asked you, the viewers, to pick your favourite, and over 2 shows, we'll reveal just how you voted.
The street's a pretty dangerous place to be. I mean, who'd live on Coronation Street? Who'd marry Gail?
And we'll hear the secrets behind each of these memorable moments from the people who brought them to our screens.
Sometimes I'll do a scene and I'll forget my line because I'm actually watching telly.
We knew we were being part of something that was going to be really explosive.
So, raise a glass to a national treasure.
Coronation Street, come on!
And let our Coronation Street countdown begin. And it's only fitting that our lineup starts with the street's longest-serving character and resident womaniser, Ken Barlow, who decided to spice up 1989 with an office affair.
Happy birthday.
The street is at its best when it's exploring situations that lots and lots of people have been through.
So, how was school today?
All right, nothing special. Same old stuff.
I know the feeling.
Deirdre had her fun with Mike Baldwin, so we thought it was appropriate that we did the same for Ken, really.
Ken had been totally at fault with Wendy Crozier. They were happy, he and Deirdre, there was no reason to go off, and it didn't start out as an affair, it started out she was helping him with the council, but it went into an affair.
You have to go.
You know I must.
Oh, I hate it when you leave.
Funnily enough, during that, I dropped my little daughter off at school, and one of the mothers came up to her and said, "Come away from that man." Really furious and wouldn't talk to me. You know, I thought, oh, crikey, you know. And she spoke to me about a year later. She said, you know, when you were doing that, having that affair, my husband was doing exactly the same thing, and I couldn't bear to see you actually playing that. But she said, I have to tell you, it helped me, because it made me realise I'm not alone.
I want to know where you've been and who with.
Oh.
Is it serious?
When you've been in a show a long time, stories like that come along as a bit of a shock, and they unsettle you.
Wendy Crozier. Am I right?
Yes.
But I think that's when actors give some of their best performances.
I don't care where you sleep, but it's not in my bed.
In 1969, Coronation Street heralded a bright new era in television. Intended as the first colour episode, the cast headed out on location to the beautiful Lake District, where disaster lurked on and off the screen.
November 69, Coronation Street goes to colour. A decision is made to put all the characters onto a coach, send them off into Windermere.
Well, we had a hell of a journey. Towards the Lake District, we came across a road that was all ups and downs like this. Everybody was car sick. I wasn't, and one of the boys was nearly passing out. We had to keep stopping for him to go on the side of the road.
Unfortunately, now either the film stock didn't arrive or the cameras weren't ready for it, whoever you listened to. But the first colour episode was not all our characters in the Lake District.
Bells are ringing.
No, it was the episode afterwards when they'd all had a horrible coach crash.
I know I got a bump on the head, which I suppose I played it up a bit, that I got concussion and all that rubbish, but a lot of people did get injured.
Oh, she's not very well. She's just lying there.
So the first colour image on Coronation Street is our characters, all bloody and messy, waiting in casualty.
Black and white was not very good for mousy ladies.
You're hurt.
So you love.
But the day colour came in, we came into our own, and it was all right after that. I was very relieved.
Back in black and white, Martha Longhurst was 1/3 of the famous soap trinity of Minnie, Martha and Ena, putting the world to rights in the snug of the Rovers. But all that was to come to an end one day in 1964.
We were told that we were getting a new producer.
One person we want, that's someone from show business. Yeah? What can I do to help? Move the piano.
And he told us about what his ideas for the show were. Lynn Carroll, who played Martha, he simply said, "We will not be taking up the options on your contract." We were absolutely devastated.
Viewers were also devastated as they watched Martha suffer a fatal heart attack. They were so moved that floral tributes soon started to arrive at Granada Studios in Manchester.
Len Fairclough had the last line in that scene, and if you watch, he hesitates because he didn't want to say it. He couldn't believe it was true.
He's dead? We all had to leave the Rovers Return individually, walking out into the street, and they played the credits without the theme tune. It was incredibly poignant, and the end of a great era for us.
1987 saw a match made in heaven. Bet Lynch was reunited with her beloved Rovers. Oh, and she got married too.
Dead right, love.
The wedding day is forever etched on my memory, I have to say.
The entire costume department had all sort of got together to make the frock. It had to be the meringue, of course. You know, we'd looked at very, very elegant designs which would have been completely wrong for Bet. What do you think? But it was fabulous. It was right. I didn't care.
It's terrific.
Some viewers didn't think it was terrific, turning up at the church pleading with Bet to stay single.
There were hundreds of tents outside with people in who'd slept there the night before.
The crowd were all there chanting and shouting, "Don't do it, Bet.
Don't do it.
Don't do it." You're late.
It's bride's privilege.
Alec was about to put the ring on Bet's finger.
I messed it up and put the ring on the wrong finger.
I said, "It's the wrong bloody finger." And I apologised and said I was very sorry for swearing in church. I felt dreadful about that.
I therefore proclaim that they are husband and wife.
Well, go on. Kiss me.
At 46, it's panic stations for Deirdre as the lorry careers into the Rovers and baby Tracy Langton.
Deirdre has left Tracy in a pushchair outside the pub. She goes in to see Mrs. Walker. There's this huge crash.
What on earth?
They filmed the outside scenes before they filmed the inside scenes. So Anne Kirkbride had a full day of screaming, "Tracy! Tracy! Tracy!" So much so that she loses her voice.
I don't appear to have lost the neck.
Well, you never do, do you?
And then you see the crash, and she's screaming, and it's great.
More from the Barlow family at 45, as Ken's first wife, Valerie, has a freak accident with a hairdryer. What a way for a hairdresser to go.
Hello. Oh, hi. Yeah, I know, love, but you've no idea. When I got the dress out, the hem had come unpicked.
Come as you are. Wet hair, no dress, it's all the rage. Don't be so bashful.
Look, give me about half an hour.
I'm very fond of Anne, still am. But she wanted to leave, it was her choice, and the court, because it's a good marriage, the only way really was to kill her off. And they did it well and truly. They electrocuted her and then burnt the place down, so she wasn't going to get away with that.
I remember after I'd done all the plug thing, I had to lie down on the floor. Everybody was going, it's 10 to 6, can you please hurry up? And there was a fireman there called Spud, and they said to him, oh, set fire to it. And I was lying there thinking, they said, keep your eyes shut. And I thought, they don't need me anymore, they don't care if I burn. And suddenly all these flames were going round me. I think I opened my eyes and sort of ruined it, so you don't get that dramatic effect of me lying amongst the flames.
Coming up, a shocking exit for Brian Tilsley.
Loads of women come up to me saying, oh, I cried, when Brian got killed on the show.
And we say farewell to the street's favourite barmaid.
Easy when you know how.
Welcome back to a countdown of your favourite Coronation Street moments from its 50-year reign on British television. And along with the rest of us, residents of Coronation Street untangled their bunting in 1977 to celebrate the Silver Jubilee, putting on a pageant with Doris Speed's Queen Annie Walker taking centre stage.
It is customary to kneel.
Some people get right into the part, don't they?
Well, she's been rehearsing all her life.
It was fantastic doing the Silver Jubilee. And what clever casting.
Well, you had Annie Walker as Queen Elizabeth I, absolutely proper.
She should be the Queen of England, she's so grand.
Me as Britannia.
Right, come on, Britannia, big smile.
Unbelievable.
Terrific, Mrs. Sharp.
You had Ena as Queen Victoria.
Lovely, Mrs. Sharp. Was that...
I was Edmund Hillary.
You never stop laughing.
Well, Kenneth, here I am.
Oh, fine.
Doris had a lovely sense of humour.
The battery's flat. Right, let me give you a hand down, Mrs. Walker.
Well, this sort of thing completely destroys the dignity of the occasion.
5 years later, and dignified as ever, Queen Elizabeth I had an audience with Queen Elizabeth II.
When I look back, what tickles me is when the Queen actually came to visit. Doris was next to me, we were outside the Rovers and everybody else, and the Queen walked along. Doris was very naughty sometimes, and as she came towards us, Doris said very loudly, "Isn't her makeup dreadful, dear?" And it threw me. It just threw me totally. I curtsied to Doris, I think I might have saluted to the Queen. Isn't her makeup dreadful?
Mavis,
Yes.
I've got a fairly important question to ask you.
No.
Will you marry me?
There's double trouble for Derek and Mavis next, as both say "I don't" on their big day.
Sorry, but there isn't going to be a wedding. I can't marry Derek.
She was quite a tough little character. You know, a lot of girls would have gone through with it, and she stuck to her guns and said, no, this isn't right.
I can't marry him. I know I'm behaving badly, and I'm hurting him. Everybody will say what a terrible person that I am.
Again, dithering and weepy, but she was tough enough to do it.
If your mind's made up and you're sure you've made the right decision. Just wish you'd made it a bit sooner, that's all.
That scene is reflective of the two of them.
Somebody's got to go to that church and tell Derek that you're not coming.
Where's Derek?
Derek won't be here. He's not coming, I'm afraid.
No, it's Mavis that's not coming.
He's very upset and that. But he can't marry her.
Do you mean he's dumping her? He's leaving her flat?
He's very sorry.
Sorry? I'll smash his teeth in.
That was the essence of the friendship. They stuck up for each other, and great friends all the way through.
Next, a story that shocked the nation as Gail's husband Brian lost his life in front of 24 million viewers.
I was very sad, that they were killing Brian off, because my decision to go, and we decided to make the most of it.
Brian was to meet his fate outside a nightclub after his date was accosted by 3 thugs, one of whom was Holby City star Ian Aspinall.
Don't waste your time with that Wally, darling.
Oh, belter.
Just started acting, really. I got a call from Granada saying, would I like this job? And so I thought, well, I have nothing to lose. It sounds fantastic. Yeah, going killing a main character off in Coronation Street. Why not?
Get off me!
What's going on? Go on, sunshine. The birds changed their mind. I'm your sweetheart.
They normally have a stunt coordinator, but they didn't have one. So the director Patrick Lau. He let me arrange the fight scene. So I remember telling the guys to, you know, either try and punch me here or I'll grab you there and I'll kick you there, and eventually you got the knife and you stick it in. It was a very violent end, and I know a lot of people, you know, were pretty upset about how violent it was.
You'd better get an ambulance and quick.
Loads of women come up to me with their kids now who are grown up, saying, "Oh, I cried when Brian got killed on the show." So, you know, it was pretty emotional for me, and also for the fans of the show as well.
From knife crime to a fatal gunshot at 41, 1978 saw Emily Bishop's husband Ernie meet his maker at the hands of armed robbers, all thanks to Mike Baldwin's elbow.
Give us the money, mate, and you won't get hurt.
Give us the money. If I hadn't have opened the door and jogged the robber's arm, perhaps the gun wouldn't have gone off and they'd have ran away. But I did feel guilty for Mike. How's it going?
They're taking us! You bloody idiots! Come on, let's get out of here! Tomorrow!
That people remember that awful shot of me being wheeled out of the ambulance afterwards as me looking pale and wan. And then a few days later I died in hospital.
I'm very sorry. In the end, there was nothing we could do.
They had a burial service, of course, for poor old Ernest.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
And I remember going, as myself, to the funeral and watching myself being buried, you know, it was very peculiar.
Next, how Bet Gilroy called time on the Rovers when wealthy step-granddaughter Vicky refused her the money to buy the pub, but she wasn't going to leave without causing a scene, and what a scene it was.
The way Bet left Coronation Street, for me, was perfect.
There's not one of you lot I haven't wanted to get rid of in my time. Come on, get your drinks. Go lose yourselves. Get out, this pub's shut.
You feel better for that?
I feel nought, except it's over and done with. And that's that.
I was very sad she went, but, you know, that's life.
Rovers Return, Coronation Street. Thank you very much. As quick as you can.
We'd actually finished the last studio scene, and then by the Friday, we'd shot everything. She was out of contract, she was gone, and I think it was the PA said, "We're missing a shot." When she leaves, the keys on the bar and goes, you know, and that was her saying, "I'm done being a landlady." Now, Julie was a hand model. We often used to joke about our hands being quite alike. So, and we always had these really long nails, both she and I. So they said, "You're it, you're the hands." So I kind of almost got the last shot, which was really cool. And I got a round of applause.
Single women, they always go where there's sunshine.
Did they find it?
Ah, well, can't answer that one, love.
Oh, they do, you know. They all find it sooner or later. She was going off into the sunshine. And I think anything other than that, I couldn't have coped with. And I know damn well the viewers couldn't. They wanted her to go to Tenerife.
She was the best barmaid we've ever had and ever will have.
Disaster strikes again at 39 with Corrie's original big stunt. Long before the tram crash of 2010, this was the first train to come careering off the viaduct.
Hey, get it! Get it, come on, everyone, come out! There's a train through the viaduct! Come on!
Ena Sharples was found under the rubble. In those days, the exterior of the street was built in studio. It was an amazing feat.
The train was left dangling overnight from this huge bridge. Dennis Parkin, who originally designed the show, came to me and he said, "That was a close one." So I said, "Why?" He said, "It was hanging by a thread right over Violet Carson."
I bet you're feeling better now, aren't you?
Yes.
Coming up, Terry Duckworth and his darkest deed yet.
The more people hated me, the more I realised I'd done a good job.
And Don takes Alma on a taxi ride from hell.
It's the first time I have ever had a round of applause on a film set.
celebrating Coronation Street's 50th anniversary with a countdown of its 50 greatest moments as voted for by you.
I want you to marry me, please. I love you, Linda.
And there's heartache for Mike Baldwin at 38 when long-lost son Mark turns up and ruins his dad's wedding.
I just thought Coronation Street would be great for me to kind of get in, cause some trouble, make some waves, and then kind of get out.
You should be with me, not him, you know you should.
Guilt-ridden Mark was left unable to fulfil his best man duties.
I'm going to marry Mike.
Better have these back then.
That didn't stop the ceremony, but the story almost ruined Johnny Briggs's holiday.
The director said, "Oh, Johnny, we're in a bit of a fix here." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well," he said, "I've got a 4-minute scene, and we've got 5 minutes to do it in." He said, "So if we don't get it done, we're in the mess. What are we going to do?" I said, "Well, I know that I'm going to catch that plane, so we're going to do it in one take." He said, "Oh, that would be a miracle if that could happen." I said, "Well, let's try it, shall we?" We got in this horse and cart, we started to go. It took 4.5 minutes when he said, "Cut," 30 seconds left. And we got it in one take.
Luckily for Johnny, the scenes of the wedding bombshell had already been filmed.
Surprise? What the flaming hell are you doing here? I'm afraid I've drunk all your champagne.
Drunk scenes are always a little weird. I'm always, a little wary of playing them because, the tendency is to overplay them slightly.
Can I kiss the bride?
Get off me.
What is wrong with you? I don't know, I'm drunk.
A little inside trick is probably to have a little sip of something just to give you a taste in your mouth that kind of probably releases some kind of endorphins that reminds you of, what it's like to feel drunk, not to be drunk, obviously.
You made a laughing stock of me out there. My friends, my work colleagues. You made me look a damn fool. What you don't realise is that you are a damn fool.
They're quite good fun to kind of let loose a little bit and, just to allow your emotions, because I was meant to be very upset.
The biggest joke is that me and your lovely wife here have been having an affair behind your back.
He's drunk.
Get out. And if all your friends and colleagues found out about that, that's when they'd be laughing at you. I said, get out. What is it? Do you not believe me? Then ask her. We were having sex in your precious little factory an hour before you asked her to marry you. So you see, Dad, you are the fool.
In 2005, Coronation Street welcomed Sir Ian McKellen into the cast, a coup for the soap and Norris's book club.
Mel, what's right?
When people come in, and particularly when they're well-known and very good, and when we knew Ian McKellen was coming in, that was wonderful.
So it's an honour.
To have Ian McKellen come in was lovely.
He put Ken down beautifully.
Oh, Ken, I'd love to borrow your book. I've been suffering from a touch of insomnia of late. It sounds like just the tonic.
Just to have someone like that in is very exciting, very stimulating, and very wonderful.
What I suggest is we go back to this place where I was staying. Done.
Every time he did a scene, you could tell he'd actually digested it, he'd worked on it, he'd put his own little bits in.
You hear the canary.
But Mel Hutchwright soon outstayed his welcome, and it was the nitwit in knitwear who exposed him as a fraud.
Stay where you are, Lionel.
Lionel, you're right, he has got
Lionel
to
Hipkiss, to give him his full name.
Get out! Oh, yes.
Sling your bug.
Lionel had been rumbled, but Sir Ian had achieved his lifelong dream to appear in Weatherfield.
He could choose wherever he wanted to go. So although it was wonderful to have him, I thought, well, I must be in a pretty marvellous programme.
At 36, how crazed cabbie Don Brennan abducted Alma Baldwin in an attempt to wreak revenge on her husband Mike. He was convinced that Baldwin was responsible for his downfall after losing his business reputation and girlfriend.
Don Brennan, is that you?
After months of simmering hatred, this was payback time, and one cabbie Alma wouldn't be tipping.
You won't want you.
Anyone in my house?
He won't want you after you've been with me.
I haven't been with you.
He'll throw you out. You're no good to him now. The culmination of all this was the big crash.
You're going to kill us! Stop! You'll kill us! No!
When Don Brennan's story first came up, I knew there was a bit of sort of wet stuff being involved in it, and that was the main worry. And we said, well, you can't put me in the middle of Salford Quays. I said, no, don't worry. We've got a tank. And they took me out to the police training tank in the middle of the night, and it was immense, covered in leaves and terrible things. And they said, we're going to put these chains around your ankles. It'll help you stay under when you bob down. Well, apparently the whole crew had a bet. There was no way that I was going to go under because it was beyond freezing. And it's the first time I have ever had a round of applause on a film set. When I'd done it, the crew clapped. I thought, well, they never did that for my acting.
Keep him away from me!
I went home saying to myself, you did it, great, you did it. And I got home and I went, you idiots.
When Martin Platt invited fellow student nurse Carmel Finnan into his home to look after his children, little did he know that she was about to turn his and Gail's lives into a living nightmare.
It started with the writer Julian Roach reading an article in a magazine out to the team about a subject that it's referred to in America, wonderfully, as erotomania, which is a great name, and it was all about stalking.
You must be Carmel. Yes, I am. And thank you for inviting me to your home.
Oh, no, it's you that's doing us the favour.
Catherine Cusack came in and she was so subtle and she underplayed it. Look, Nikki, we'll play your video later on when your mum's had a cup of tea. We'll all sit ourselves down. No, Carmel. Not tonight. But what's up? I decide what goes on in this house, Martin.
Even the viewers were thinking, I wonder if is she a bit bonkers?
Well, we soon found out.
I'm having our child. Yes.
Our child?
What's more, I'm glad to be.
Look, Carmel, you can be as glad as you want to be, but that is not our child.
Sit down and talk.
Carmel's obsession got worse until Gail decided that enough was enough.
I had a stunt double. That's probably the one and only time in my life.
Now, for the last time, Carmel, leave us alone. Got to let him go, Gail. He wants to be with me. We've got to be together for when our baby comes. You stay away from us. Please, Gail, I can make him happy. You say you love him. If you did, you'd let him go, because I'm the only one can make him happy. Please, Gail, let him go. For the last time, no, do you hear? Please, Gail, let me go. All that coming down the stairs, which is actually quite something. It had all been done in one shot.
I ended, she took over, did a fantastic fall, and then I was at the bottom of the stairs. She had tried to disrupt one of the best-loved families in the street, so I'm sure most people thought she got her comeuppance. I don't think that many people felt sorry for her, really.
From an imagined affair to a real one, and 1997 saw one of the street's most solid couples rocked by the arrival of a new woman and a new producer.
The new producer at the time, Brian Park, he just came in and apparently, rumour has it, he walked into the storyline conference and said, right, who's the happiest couple on the street? And he went, the Websters. He went, right, split them up.
I could stay like this forever. Kevin having an affair was such a shock, you know. They were so happy. They had 2 children. Everything was going really well. There was nothing wrong with their relationship.
And they did need shaking up.
Sally was actually thrilled because, of course, for about 12 years, she'd just said, just need a tin of baked beans for girls' tea. So she was delighted to have this storyline.
We've got a visitor.
You built yourself up to be so angry that you just go for it.
Sally certainly didn't hold the punches.
And it wasn't just Kevin who was on the receiving end of Sally's unhappy slapping, as Denise Welsh found out.
I really hit her hard. My face was like a cartoon. The director was very crafty and told Sal to kind of catch me off guard a little bit, so I didn't know what was, what was coming. And then the next day it ended up front page of The Sun. Denise and I were like, oh, wow, that's amazing. You can't be in Corrie and not have a catfight on the cobbles.
In 1986, the Street's producers decided that the Rovers needed a refurbishment. So at 33 in your countdown, what better way than to burn it down and start again?
If it's got a 5-amp plug, you don't put a 13 or 15 in. Jack did.
The fire at the Rovers that day, oh my gosh, I was so excited.
Kevin! Kevin! Don't do anything stupid!
I
had to go down Coronation Street and bang on every door and say, come out, you know. So I ran down the road and banged on the first door and cut. Who lives here? And they were like, no, that's Ken Barlow. Oh, Ken Barlow. Ken!
Hey, it's a rumpus, what's going on?
Hey, Sue's on fire, get the fire brigade!
My mum always used to go through scripts with me, learning, and when she read that, she wasn't happy at all. It was really, really frightening. The wardrobe department had flame-proofed the nightie I was wearing. The scream at the top of the staircase was for real. I was terrified.
Julie had every reason to be scared, but thankfully the production crew were on hand.
The first time we did it, I wasn't as frightened until the fire got completely out of control and the whole staircase collapsed.
The famous story is I picked her up and I ran her through the flames. Followed very closely by a couple of firemen with 3.5-inch hoses to put a real fire out.
Well, I'm quite convinced he saved my life. I bet you any money she's been smoking in bed. When I watch it back, I am very proud of it. Would I do it again? No way.
Couldn't you just hang on a bit, love? Give me time to get my face on.
Terry Duckworth.
Terry were always a bad lad.
Our Terry.
Like the proverbial bad penny, Terry Duckworth turns up bringing misery to all, and in 1993 he stooped to lower than ever in a story that disgusted the nation.
You can't get much lower than selling your own son, can you?
What have you done with him?
What the hell's going on here? A girlfriend phoned me up and said, Nigel, are you all right? I said, well, yeah, of course I'm all right. And I said, well, why shouldn't I be? He said, I've just read the papers. You're going to be the most hated man in the country.
What am I supposed to do with a kid that doesn't even know me, Mum? You can't just tear a kid out of here because it doesn't suit you to look after him.
They were quite hated by a lot of people.
You're trying to tell me that you are doing all this for somebody else's benefit? Well, I hope the lie chokes you.
Oh, Dad!
Hey, this is getting out of hand. You only do that in one stat. I don't want you calling me that no more, you.
Oh, I just want him back!
When the programme went out, it was sad, Christmas Eve. It was a big thing to play that part.
I just wanted to do a good job. And the more people hated me, the more I realised I'd done a good job.
Still to come, Roy comes a cropper thanks to toxic Tracy Barlow.
Tracy Barlow gets pregnant by Roy, and you're like, how does that happen?
And it's back to how the magic began.
It went to the top of the ratings and has never been out of the top 10 ever since.
Welcome back to our countdown of classic Coronation Street moments as voted for by you. And at 31, it's time to remember toxic Tracy Barlow's most depraved stunt yet, spiking Roy Cropper's drink and leading him not only to temptation, but also into believing that they'd shared a night of passion, and all because of a 1-penny bet.
That was an interesting storyline because on paper it looked ridiculous.
OK, so Tracy Barlow gets pregnant by Roy, and you're like, how does that happen?
I'll get him into bed all right. I just don't think I could actually do anything when I got him there. Can you imagine it?
That is my favourite time on Coronation Street, that storyline with Roy Cropper.
Oh, there you go, Roy.
I thought I'd drunk most of that.
Toxic.
Some of my favourite scenes were the scenes when we were in bed, in Tracy's bed.
Are you coming to bed with me?
Of course I am. David was there and he'd had this idea that his Y-fronts would be flung over the lamp. That was David's idea and that was great.
You know the character, you know what you're playing, you know how that might be made particular to Roy. It's the way my mind works, really.
Breakfast ready.
Shall I give Tracy a shout? One of the most unlikely things you could ever imagine will be Roy Cropper creeping down the stairs in the Barlows while they're having breakfast, having just been in bed with Tracy. You just could not imagine that situation.
Do you know, yesterday went really well. Well, without a hitch, actually. Roy?
Good morning. Cup of tea?
Bye.
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 It was like the cat stuck trying to get out through the crack in the door, anywhere.
It's double locked.
Yeah, I'll get the key. It won't take a minute. Nobody's saying, what the devil are you doing here? What have you been up to?
So, is Tracy upstairs?
I think she is, yes.
You think she is? Were you really going to sneak off without saying goodbye, you naughty boy?
I'm sorry, I've got to go. Goodbye.
What the hell's going on, Tracy?
What have you done?
I'm really fond of that whole storyline. I loved it.
Next, when the Ogden's lodger Eddie Yates ran out of wallpaper, he brought home something that was to become a national treasure.
There, that is your scenic panorama contrast wall.
The Ogdens were the only people in the street who had bought their house. Everybody else was renting.
Annie Walker's never had one of them mural walls, that I do know. I think it'll suit us very nicely, will that?
That was a thing that made Hilda feel a little bit superior from the outset.
It's a new flaming mural.
Ah, Stan, sure.
With a picture on the wall, you know. It's good too.
Do you mean a mural, by any chance? Oh, now, Mrs. Walker. No, this is a picture on the wall.
Annie was horrified, probably made some snide remark.
Come in, it's open house. Oh, I just...
Aha, you couldn't resist it, you couldn't.
There's so much about Coronation Street which is iconic, and it's as iconic as the 3 curlers in Hilda's hair.
Shut your eyes, turn round and open them.
Oh, my word, Mrs. Ogden. Do you know, dear, I feel just a little giddy. Would you mind if I sat facing the other way until I'm acclimatised?
Well, either you're one for the great outdoors or you're not. Myself, I am.
At 29, it's the sorry tale of one bookie, 2 barmaids and a big broken heart. Dez won himself a second chance with Raquel, but was about to throw it all away.
You get Raquel, who everyone wants to just wrap up in cotton wool.
Dez, I'm ready.
Right, I'm coming. Like lots of women, she didn't want a decent guy. She wanted somebody exciting, like Dez.
And they're in love and everything's fine, and this dilemma's going on in his head. Oh, she's so gorgeous, and then he looks over there and just sees Tanya. You understand why he did it. I'm sure everyone understands why he did it. I do.
Come back to my flat.
There was just one small problem. Alex, Tanya's other boyfriend and Dez's boss.
She becomes an addiction. So everything was in place, really. You know, you just put the pieces together and there you have the perfect jigsaw, really.
Des! Get your clothes on and shove off! Or get out of that bed, you're in bed with my girl! Get out before I kill you! Raquel.
There was an overwhelming amount of sympathy for Raquel, always. Sarah Lancashire said to me, they're going to hate you for this. And the next day, we went out somewhere to some supermarket and all the women were like, you're terrible. And all the blokes were like, nice one.
At 28, we go back to how it all began and Coronation Street's first episode. Created by Tony Warren, the series was originally called Florizel Street until the studio tea lady pointed out that it sounded like disinfectant. Intended to run for only 13 episodes, the rest is television history. And did you know that a budding 60s pop star was one of its very first faces?
House to let, a car within, as I go out.
I'm very proud to say that I was actually one of the first faces to be seen on the first episode. I was actually the little girl that was bouncing the ball.
1, 2, 3, 4. Mary at the cottage door.
Coronation Street's all right. Mind, there's some you'll have to watch.
It was very important to me that they used real northern actors.
I had just had the lead in a television play, Marking Time it was called, and I recorded that up at Granada. And unbeknown to me, it's while I was recording that Tony Warren brought Josie Scott, the casting woman, down and said, that's the guy I want to play Ken Barlow.
I got a record.
One I'd like.
You might, I'm not sure.
When I look back to episode 1, I just think how thin I was.
Some parts were easy to cast. Phoenix and I took one look at one another.
Hey, Elsie, just about ready for the knacker yard.
And she knew she'd found her author, and I knew I'd found my star.
Oh, Linda. I don't know what we're going to do. What about?
I got the call to say I'd got the part of Linda Chavesky and would I like to start on Monday.
Shall I go blonde?
Well, why ask me? If you want to go blonde, you'll go blonde. You know that. I would nearly went mad when he found a bottle of peroxide I brought in. I wouldn't care, but it would only to take a mark off my front tooth.
Shall I go blonde? Well, I have. Well, it's not. It's grey.
They used to go out on a Friday and a Monday at 7 o'clock. We'd do the Friday one live.
As it approached 7 o'clock, I heard the floor manager say, right, settle down, studio, 10 seconds, none. And I went rigid.
So you're stuck to going in a lady's handbag?
Just listen it. A lady, is that what you crack on you are these days?
But all the characters have got bits of me in.
I'm Mrs. Sharples. I'm very pleased to meet you.
And as for Ena, well, I grow more like her every day.
For them fancy today's? Yes. I'll take half a dozen and no eclairs. No eclairs.
It hit the screen with that unbelievable impact.
That'll be 4 and 7 halfpenny altogether.
And was a roaring success within those 6 weeks. I think it went to the top of the ratings and has never been out of the top 10 ever since.
When Deirdre Rashid started dating supposed pilot John Lindsay,
You fly carefully. It's a long way to Nairobi.
little did she know that he wasn't the man he said he was.
The fact it spanned over a long period of time really worked to its favour because there were various times when he had to justify himself. When Ken found him in Tyrac and tried to explain to Deirdre what happened, she didn't believe him. Then she turned up and found him there. And then he had to come up with some kind of story as to why that was the case.
Yes, can I? Go on then. Lie your way out of this one. You don't think about that sort of thing happening, do you? But it does happen. And it's based on, actually, a true story.
John won Deirdre over,
Will you marry me?
but his fraudulent actions got worse.
I told you I'd surprise you one day.
And it was Deirdre that got caught in the firing line.
In a few moments, you'll be formally charged.
What with?
1 count of obtaining a credit card by deception. 1 count of procuring a mortgage by fraud.
When the trial comes, it is a really big climax, and the fact that she is blamed for so much of the stuff that he's engineered, and that kind of sense of injustice, that everybody feels, it really allowed the audience to enjoy the payoff at the trial at the end.
The jury has found you guilty by a unanimous verdict of all the counts against you. Have you anything to say?
I didn't do any of it.
Take the defendant down with you.
The Free Deirdre business was a total shock. I wasn't expecting anything like the sort of reaction that it got. My mother-in-law rang me and said, have you got news at 10 on? And I said, no. She said, well, put it on because you're on.
Overnight, Coronation Street fans began a campaign to free Deirdre Rashid, who was jailed in last night's episode. And now it seems even the Prime Minister wants to get involved.
The whole press campaign about the Weatherfield one was very, very clever. I mean, this whole sort of we've released her because of the press campaign. Look, come on, she went to prison for 3 weeks. She was always going to prison for 3 weeks. But I love the fact that The Sun, to this day, claim credit for getting her out in 3 weeks.
I told you I'd get you out, didn't I? I promised.
At number 26, Peter Barlow turns bigamist when he says I do to both Lucy and Shelly.
It's very exciting when the storylines start to come through and you try to guess where it's going to end up. He slowly got deeper and deeper in. From a chance meeting, he was actually buying flowers to take back to Shelly.
Peter, by the way.
Oh, Lucy.
Yeah, I know. Your name's outside.
It wasn't long before Peter was caught up with florist Lucy, but this was to be no bed of roses.
Any regrets?
No, I don't. It's great. There was one little bit for me that was instrumental in that story.
I do love you,
Yeah.
I love you too.
He's taken his tie off and he looks in the mirror now. I think in the script it said that Peter looks in the mirror and he's kind of pleased with himself that he's gotten away with it. But me and Ian, the director, felt that as soon as he looks in the mirror, he should feel ashamed of himself, a deep shame of what he'd done there to Shelly, and then, as the story went on, also to Lucy.
Lucy Richards, will you marry me?
Yes. Mr. and Mrs. Barlow.
Yeah, so no regrets?
Hundreds, but it's too late.
Yeah, well, I don't.
Peter tried to fulfil his responsibilities with her, even though he'd got Shelly.
You may kiss the bride.
Shelley, love, it looks like we're married to the same man.
It was that journey to the point when you wondered what the hell was going to happen to Peter and how he would get his comeuppance. And it was actually delicious when we got there and well worth waiting for.
Well, here he is, the husband.
What's happening?
It's your 2 wives, together at last.
Shell.
So it's true, is it?
Well,
You married to her?
I suppose I am, as it happens. Yeah.
He never meant to hurt anybody. That's the strangest thing. And who got hurt most? He himself.
That's it for the first half of Coronation Street. 50 years, 50 moments.
Bye. Bye.
But there's still all of this to look forward to.
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir?
Wait till you try bingo. You'll hyperventilate.
I'm coming with you.
I sentence you to 18 months in prison.
You lying little whore.
It's a national institution.
Who could think that we were common, eh?
Its characters are household names.
Come on now, the sofa, it's your turn.
Its storylines part of our lives. And now it is 50 years old.
Coronation Street.
Coronation Street.
Coronation Street's all right. Mind, there's some you'll have to watch.
Over the years, we've seen more than 10,000 characters and just as many twists and turns. But which is Coronation Street's greatest ever story?
And suddenly Bill had me by the throat.
Brilliant one-liners. You know, on dates with a briefcase.
This year we asked you to vote for your favourite Corrie storyline, and we've already celebrated the first half from 50 to 26. Tonight we continue the countdown and reveal the street's greatest moment.
Brought a tear to my eyes.
We'll also hear the secrets behind each of these unforgettable storylines from the people who brought them to our screens.
We had lots of gorgeous firemen in that me and Julie kept winking at.
These tempestuous lives, it's just such fun.
So it's 3 cheers for a national treasure.
Coronation Street!
And let the final Coronation Street countdown begin. Down the years, Coronation Street has always reflected social change. And at 25, you've voted for the story which saw Todd Grimshaw discover his true feelings.
I think for them to do a storyline involving a character questioning his sexuality or being gay, it was quite sensational.
I like this. Not sitting here, talking to you.
I think it was long overdue that we had a gay character at the centre of the show, not in a kind of token way, but playing big stories.
You know when you asked if you were going to get to know the real me? Mm-hmm. Think you already have? Never felt this close. What was that? Kiss?
The first time I kissed him, the character was supposed to kiss him again, but I kept forgetting.
What the hell do you think you're doing?
The producer kept ringing down from the office going, just kiss longer, kiss harder.
But I thought... Yeah, I know what you thought. Wrong move, Todd.
And it wasn't just Nick that Todd had eyes for. There was also Carl.
Why did you invite me here? Because I wanted to be with you.
There was only one way out, to come out.
So you don't want to get married in the church, right?
I don't want to get married. I don't want to get married. And reason? You want to know why? Reason is because I'm gay. So, now you know.
I'll remember this view for the rest of my life.
Spring 1983 saw a comedy classic when 2 of Corrie's best-loved barmaids swapped the warmth of the Rovers bar for a Rover car, submerged in a lake deep in the heart of Cheshire.
They told us that the storyline was you 3 go on a picnic. Tar for bringing us, Fred. Don't get out much these days. Well, not now.
It was March, it was very cold, but certainly not as cold as it was going to get.
We get in the car, and it's chained to a tractor at the back, so we won't go too far in the water. Wrong.
Fred, we're moving!
Pull the handbrake on!
We rolled very quickly into the lake.
The handbrake, pull it!
I am doing!
Pull it harder!
I can't!
And this flaming car goes straight down there.
Pull it harder!
The car started to fill.
We're sinking, you know. We're up to our ankles.
I said, if anybody's interested, I've got a little stickleback fish in the car with me.
Are you just going to stand there, watching us drown?
There was a swan. I said to Julie, if that swan comes anywhere near us, don't touch it, because they're very vicious. The pig came towards us, looked at it, went, I thought, oh, lovely.
Maybe that was Betty's breaking point, I don't know. From the back, she said, I need to spend a penny, Julie.
Oh, my God, it was awful.
Are you right there?
And God!
Got back to my dressing room. There was a little short note
saying, Dear girls, you've done much more than we ever asked you to.
You have put me down, right slap bang, in the middle of a flaming cow plop.
And there was a quarter bottle of brandy. I got really excited.
I'm dying to learn French. Quite excited. Sure you don't mind?
Not a bit, no.
At 23 in our countdown, you voted for this story featuring barmaid Raquel Woolstenhume, who was always looking to better herself. And when Ken was offering French lessons, how could she possibly resist?
When I heard about the Ken giving French lessons to Raquel, I thought, oh no, it's going to be allo, mispronunciation.
If you're too busy, there's a woman I can go to round here. Private French lessons. She's put a little card in phone booth.
I should have known better because the writers are always brilliant.
Well, I know what the gets are. And, well, coffee's cafe. Red wine's Vin Rouge. Oh, and I met a Frenchman in coffee who taught me how to say, isn't it a lovely day today?
So there you are, you're not a complete novice.
One of the great traits of Raquel, I think, was the fact that she was ignorant of the world, really. She was remarkably naive.
Let's put a sentence together. I want you to say to me, in French, hello, Ken. My name is Raquel. Isn't it a lovely day today, okay?
Oh, clever.
And then, of course, she had that wonderful moment.
Bonjour, Ken. Je m'appelle Raquel. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir?
It's what the street should be. It should be able to provide different levels of comedy for different generations.
Ken, isn't it important, your communication?
Ena Sharples and Elsie Tanner were always at loggerheads, so when landlady Ena wanted to evict tenant Elsie, there could only be one outcome: fight!
Ena and Elsie were fire and brimstone.
Don't move your lips, she's over there in the snug.
When those two collided, stand by for action.
Would you pass it up, please?
Basically, they loathed each other.
You know what? It's your notice. It says, take your hook out of my house, only it says it more polite than that.
Ena was essentially a Victorian, and as far as she was concerned, Elsie was a woman whose house during the war had been the League of Nations.
It's not so much you're chucking me at, it's a nasty, sneaking, sly way you did it. You've been waiting for this day for the last 70 years, haven't you, Mrs. Sharp? She's chucking me out of my vestries.
What I really recall was Violet's energy.
If you want to move me out of that house, you'll move me in a 6-foot box. Yes, and I'll do that and all.
It must have taken something out of it, because she was getting on a bit, and Pat was going out to hammer and tongues.
Look here, you'll only move me out of this house when I want to go. In the meantime, go jump in the cot, you... My way!
Go on, don't forget.
Mrs. Sharples, you're too old for this sort of thing.
At the end of it, you see Pat absolutely defiant.
You're still my landlord, are you? Oh, yes, I am that. Well, you'll pay for that window.
You're nearly there. Yes, Sarah. Now push for me.
In 2000, Corrie hit the headlines again when 13-year-old Sarah Louise caused scandal on the street and in the tabloids with a teenage pregnancy.
I remember going up to the office at Coronation Street and being told that I had a storyline. And then they hit me with the fact that I was going to be pregnant.
Oh my God, she's 13.
What have you found? Just hold on a second. Come and take a seat.
I was 16 at the time, and I didn't realise how big the storyline was going to be.
Is there anything you'd like to tell us?
No.
Will somebody tell us what's going on?
She's pregnant.
I always felt really sorry for her in that storyline. She was a sweet girl, and she just got unlucky. It absolutely exploded, and it was everywhere. People would write to me about friends of theirs or themselves who were in similar situations. So I think it really struck a chord with a lot of people.
She's beautiful. It was a great scene to work on, and actually remains one of my favourites, even now.
It's only now that I can look back and say, flipping heck, that was huge. It was absolutely massive.
Coming up, Karen MacDonald puts the boot in. Well, stiletto.
She was like, what are you going to actually do with that stiletto, babes?
And do I smell a whiff of romance?
I inserted a quarter pound of gorgonzola cheese into the bed just to liven things up.
I'm ready.
Welcome back to Coronation Street, 50 years, 50 moments, as voted for by you. In 1983, Bette Lynch decided it was time to join a dating agency, but got the shock of her life when she saw a familiar face. What happened next is at number 20.
I'll show you one or two of our clients.
I remember as back going into the dating agency and seeing Bill Tarmy on the screen as Vince Sinclair.
My name's Vince Sinclair.
I'm in the business, show business, that is. Maybe you've heard of me. I sing, I dance.
I'm pretty well known in show circles.
I still know the speech.
Why should a guy like me, with all I have going for me, use a dating agency?
Are you all
That
right,
isn't my
Miss Lynch?
profession.
And, of course, I mean, Bet had to set him up.
Never one to miss a trick, Bette set a honey trap to catch out Jack, and unsuspecting Vera walks straight in.
Vera, you're a married woman, Vera. Listen, if I want to go, love, I'll go.
He has to get discovered, and it has to be Vera that discovers him.
This gentleman is in the entertainment business.
Now you're talking, kid. Hey, is there anybody we know?
Well, I haven't heard of him myself, I must admit, but perhaps you have.
My name's Vince Sinclair.
Don't believe it. I don't believe it. I'll wake up in a minute and find it's all been a dream.
With Vera on the warpath, a date was set up between Carol Munro and Vince Sinclair.
Vince Sinclair speaking.
Only Jack could have set up some sort of date in his local.
8 o'clock. Rovers Return, Coronation Street.
I mean, what kind of fella would do that?
Hi, Carol.
Well, hello, Vince. Terrific to meet you.
Of course, he got battered again.
In 2005, we saw barmaid Shelly Unwin become a shadow of her former self thanks to boyfriend Charlie Stubbs when the street bravely tackled the issue of domestic abuse.
I kind of set about researching it really as best as I could, and I got in touch with an organisation called Women's Aid, who look after people who've been on the receiving end of people like Charlie. From a storyline perspective, you're kind of going, my God, this is a very big deal for an awful lot of people out there, and we have to get this right. Charlie, moment by moment, week by week, cutting Shelley off from everything that was around her. First from her family, then from her friends, so that ultimately she was locked away in her room and wholly reliant on him.
Agoraphobic Shelley turned to therapy to reach her goal of walking down the aisle.
What is the worst thing that you could ever land upon an agoraphobic? It's to walk down an aisle with everyone you know watching and you are the centre of attention.
I can do this.
Will you take Charles to be your husband? Will you love him, comfort him, and, forsaking all others, be faithful to him as long as you both shall live?
No, I won't. I'm sorry, but I won't.
As you're typing away in your little room, you're open for national celebrations at the point where she says you can get lost.
I can't marry you! Yes.
I was just delighted for Shelley that Charlie got his comeuppance.
At 18, it's how unhinged solicitor Maya Sharma sought revenge on former flame Dev in one of the street's most explosive storylines.
Kieran Roberts, the producer, saw a glint in my eye.
They went out for lunch and she decided to do a runner from the restaurant. It's no big deal, but there was something slightly dangerous about the way she did that.
I'll go this time, I mean it. 5, 4...
This is madness!
The choice was whether or not to make her a cartoon villain or whether to try and create sympathy for her for as long as I possibly could.
But hell hath no fury like a solicitor scorned, and when Dev rekindled his passion with ex-Sunita, Maya did some kindling of her own and torched Dev's corner shop, with the happy couple still in it.
There's somebody in here! Get back! Fire in the corner shop!
We had to shoot my reaction to the explosion before the explosion had actually happened because of the schedule and the timing. I had to imagine that the thing had exploded. But of course I wasn't seeing any of that, I was just seeing an empty street. That's no good. I went straight to the director and I said, you've got to retake that reaction. It was terrible. I think I went... He said, don't worry, I think it's going to be fine.
But But the explosion didn't wipe out Dev or Sunita, so Mad Maya felt driven to try and run the pair down. And just when we thought it was all over...
It's the classic shot, isn't it? She's not dead yet. How could you top that?
Kevin chose Christmas Day 2009 to tell Sally that he was leaving her, but Sally had a bigger revelation of her own.
I was absolutely thrilled when I was told that Sally Webster would get breast cancer.
Sit down.
I'm coming. And I couldn't wait for those scripts to come through. I thought it was the best story that Sally had ever been given.
That is nice.
Seems like we'll never get a chance to stop and chat anymore.
I have a friend who had breast cancer and I really wanted to play it for real. I wanted to do it the best I'd ever done anything. And I knew Coronation Street were going to deal with this in a really, really sensitive way. So I was so excited about it.
Sal? There's something... Sal?
I'm sorry. I can't say it.
Sally, please. What is it?
I've got cancer.
And this is going to sound ridiculous, but I really felt I'd let the viewers down because I couldn't continue the story because I found out I had breast cancer myself. I had to leave to go through my own treatment.
I didn't want to tell you till after Christmas.
It got cut short, and quite rightly so, you know, because she needed to get better. Sally was quite brave in the event that she carried on and did as much as she did to get the message across as well.
I found a lump and I had it tested. And I've got breast cancer.
How bizarre, you know, life imitating art to the extreme that it did. I'm so glad I had that story. I would have never have gone for the check. I'm very grateful to Coronation Street. It did, and it sounds very dramatic to say, but it did save my life.
In 1977, Hilda and Stan Ogden went off on a luxury second honeymoon. It's next in our countdown, complete with one of Coronation Street's most memorable lines.
I think Hilda won it in a competition. A night away in a posh hotel. Everything paid for.
It's very nice, don't you think so, Stanley?
Aye, it's all right.
It was fun to do that because it was one of the few times the Ogdens were out of their tatty little house.
I still can't hardly believe it. Fabulous hotel, champagne, dinner for two. Ooh, it's like a dream come true.
It's beautiful and wonderful, and of course has what is probably the best line ever spoken in any soap opera ever.
Come on, you daft aper. 'Tis the second honeymoon, you know, not the first. Although, as I remember, you wasn't all that backward at coming forward then.
What's that lipstick taste of?
Woman, Stanley. Woman.
Woman, Stanley. Woman.
From a second honeymoon to a second wedding next, when Steve MacDonald makes an honest woman of Becky Granger. Well, he tried his best anyway.
They decided to get married.
Becky just treated it as one big fat party, really.
And got so drunk she couldn't even make it up the aisle.
So Steve goes, right, look, we'll get married again and we'll do it, you know, a lot better this time.
If this is a dream, don't wake me up.
It just coincided with the soap awards, and Jordan and Peter presented Best Couple, and it was the last time we saw them together. And she walked out with what must have been 8 hair pieces on, and our makeup designer was there as well. I was like, Liz, can I have the hair for the wedding? And she was like, oh, all right then, love. So she went to Barlow Market and did buy 6 hair pieces.
Well, come on then, let's get on with it, because I've got to kiss this woman.
I love him when he's gagging for it.
It turned into a little bit of Carry On Coronation Street with that wedding.
I, Rebecca Granger, do take thee, Stephen James MacDonald, to be my lawful wedded husband.
By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you man and wife.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
And is it legal?
You may kiss the bride.
Thank you.
Woo!
Obviously, something's got to happen on the wedding days and something's got to go wrong.
As boss of this wedding, I officially declare the buffet and the bar open!
After the happy couple tied the knot, there was a shock in store at the reception when some drugs were planted in Becky's handbag.
Yeah, it never goes right for Becky. It's her own fault, though. She's a scally. What can you do?
Hello, are you not the strippers? Yeah, well, you're a bit late because this is the reception bit now.
Steve, it's the drug squad. They've got a warrant to search the pub.
Poor old Bex, eh? What can you do? You can run, but you can't hide from your past.
2001 was a sad year on the cobbles as we said goodbye to Alma Halliwell, who lost her battle with cancer.
How did it go?
They've always got to get rid of you somehow. And when they came up with a story about Alma having cancer...
I'm the consultant gynaecologist.
I got very emotionally involved in doing that. So I have got a tumour.
Yes, you do. Your condition is incurable, I'm sorry.
Oh, my God.
Her death was sad. I don't like looking at that clip particularly.
I'm here now. Gail's with me. But everything's going to be all right now, lovey, because I'm going to look after you. I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere.
I thought I mustn't breathe, and I was talking to myself and going, I must breathe less and less, just like it's all slipping away.
I'm sorry. She's gone.
And I suddenly thought, wait a minute, Amanda, you're only acting, don't go.
Alma might have gone, but she had one last message for her friends.
I hope this is recording, because I'm not very good with gadgets. Really, it was like saying goodbye to everybody. I've accepted that I'm going to die, and in some funny way, I've come to terms with it. I wanted to say goodbye to you all properly. It really upset me doing that. I've had a wonderful life, and a lot of that's been down to you lot, so thank you. Just remember me, eh?
Still to come, an unusual love affair.
What happened was just a bit of Corrie magic.
And the heat's turned up at Underworld.
I'm feeling really hot now, and I'm feeling my face start to really burn.
We're celebrating Corrie's 50th anniversary with a countdown of its 50 greatest moments. Seen your favourite yet? And next, it's the story of a couple who, against all odds, found true happiness. Not unlucky for them, at 13, it's Roy and Hayley.
Roy had this solitary life, which evolved really nicely.
See your red salmon over there? It says on the label, it's wild, doesn't it? Well, bound to be. Big fish like that squashed into a little tin.
I think the storyline is that it'd be hysterical to bring in a love interest for Roy, who was a real oddball.
Well, you know everybody, don't you? This is Hayley.
Oh, nice to meet you, Roy.
And you.
I think that Hayley was brought in, I have to admit, as a little bit of a joke.
On a Friday afternoon in the storyline office. Do you mind if I use your phone to dial a taxi? Somebody said, I know what would make him run if she was a he.
A pre-op transgendered person.
Would you mind asking for 2 taxis?
Well, we could share the one. I mean, it's up to you.
Oh, yes, we could do that. But I think I was only ever going to be in for a few weeks, and it was just going to play out. Roy was going to find out my situation and then be like, oh, no, we can't be together.
Hayley, I really feel we're getting to know each other tonight, don't you?
I do, Roy. Lucky for me, what happened was just a bit of Corrie magic. I'm a transsexual. Despite Hayley's past and despite Roy's eccentricities, they're made for each other. It's years since I've been here.
Thought you'd like it.
The scene of Roy and Hayley's first kiss is probably my favourite scene of all time. This is lovely, Roy.
What I'd like is if eventually you and me could possibly think of having a relationship.
I'd like that.
Would you really?
Yeah, more than anything. That was the moment when they really cemented the relationship. So here we are, 12 years on, still very much in love.
It seemed the whole nation tuned in to say farewell to Hilda Ogden on Christmas Day 1987, giving Coronation Street its highest viewing figures ever. After the death of hubby Stan, it was only a matter of time before Hilda said goodbye.
The last year I was in it, I had virtually nothing to do at all. I'd have the odd few lines in the Rovers and a couple of lines somewhere else in the shop or something. And I thought, no, it's time Hilda went.
We're going to miss you, Hilda. Oh, the place won't be the same without you.
So it was quite nice the way they wrote her out, actually.
It's been a pleasure knowing you. And from all of us, good luck and God bless.
It's my favourite scene of any television episode in any television series ever. She finally gets to sing legitimately with an audience.
I think they absolutely judged that departure of Hilda beautifully, because it felt like losing an old friend, and of course that's exactly what it was like.
At 11, how Coronation Street hit the front page for the first time with a story that captured the public's imagination.
Ken and Deirdre had kind of got into a bit of a rut.
Join out with Mike Baldwin.
Ken was stagnating a bit. I think Mike represented at that time excitement. And suddenly Ken finds out, and this is what everyone's been waiting for.
What you were planning was a dirty weekend with Baldwin!
I didn't plan it.
William Roach was passionate that Ken wouldn't take this outrage lightly.
Baldwin of all people!
Imagine having an argument with your wife in your own hallway. There's a knock at the door.
Ignore it.
The door opens, and there's the guy she's having the affair with. And he says, you all right, Deirdre? Nothing bothering you, is it? You know, got any problems? You come to me. A page of this while Ken stood there. And I was absolutely incensed. I said to the director, I said, I'm sorry, I just can't do that.
Why did you put the phone down on me?
It's Ken. He knows. I've told him everything.
Get out of this house. Shut up! I'm warning you. Get out of this house.
That's it. You go. Go.
And suddenly Bill had me by the throat and just sort of jammed me up against the wall. And I thought he'd gone mad, because we hadn't rehearsed it like that. I was really upset, and I finally managed to get away from him. And I ran into the front room and sat at the table, and I was just sitting there trying to kind of get my breath back and recover. And I suddenly realised there was a camera, and it was on me to get my reaction to what had really happened.
Anne's brilliant. Although she was crying and was upset, she never lost her words. We carried on. It became an iconic scene.
We're into the top 10 now with a comedy classic, and Reg Holdsworth ending up in hot water.
It's a waterbed.
What? A waterbed?
Everybody thought about getting one of these waterbeds, you know, and as a luxury item.
I think it was his image of himself as a man who should have been in the Playboy mansion.
Where's my drill?
But Derek's dodgy DIY skills were about to dampen Reggie's ardour.
Oh, Mavis. There's water coming through.
Oh, Derek, it's getting worse.
The director said to us it's got to be one take, so I'm afraid you're not going to be able to wear any clothes because supposedly you're in bed. So I said, well, I'll keep my knickers on. And Reg said, I won't.
Ooh, it's cold in here.
Both on and off camera, there were a lot of tricks being played.
Just as a jape, I inserted a quarter pound of gorgonzola cheese into the bed just to liven things up somewhat, you know.
Oh, Maury.
Mr.
Holdsworth!
Who is it? What do you want? Are you up there?
What is it?
There's something wrong with the bed!
As the water seeps through the bed and down the bed, I'm screaming and screaming and screaming.
The floor is all wet!
He jumps out of the bed and goes into the hallway.
What the hell are you playing at?
He runs back in.
The bed's collapsing!
Well, you better get out quicker!
And runs round and out of the shot of camera. Rips his towel off.
Just for a jest.
Everything was just there in front of me.
What can you say? The woman is a trooper.
You know, when I close my eyes, yes, there it is, just there.
It's a sad moment in the street's history at 9. Following the death of actor Bernard Ewens, we also had to say goodbye to his on-screen character, Stan.
I was very, very sorry to lose a marvellous partner professionally, because the Oggies were a popular
There's two of us.
double act. We got on very well together, and we'd known each other quite a long time by then. So it was a sad time.
The sad fact was that he died before we'd written him out. We'd said goodbye to Bernard previously, the actor, and then now we'd said goodbye to Stan publicly in full view of the nation so that everybody could shed tears with Hilda and then move on with Hilda by herself.
The studio was absolutely quiet. And the tears came. And we all cried. They say small is beautiful, and it was just one of the most amazing performances I think I've ever seen.
Next, Weatherfield has seen many bad guys in its time, but unfortunately for Rita, not many as malicious as Alan Bradley.
He was about as evil as you can be in Coronation Street, really.
In the street, they have had man and wife rows, which you do, but real frightening wife-beating violence. None of that had appeared in the street. I ended up in the dressing room with 3 black bin liners filled with letters from ladies going through the same thing.
Get out of the car! Viewers were on the edge of their seats as Rita fled Weatherfield and the clutches of evil Alan for Blackpool.
Because the name of the hotel was shown, they got a phone call. Would you tell Rita he's on his way to Blackpool? In the second half of the show, the phone went again, and it was the same person who said, he's going up the stairs. Will you tell Rita?
That old lady hit me over the head with her umbrella in Kendall's. She said, that's what you're doing to Rita. I'm taking you back to Weatherfield. Now get in the car! You stupid bitch! We finished about 4 o'clock. He said, that's it, Ma, thanks. And the car came, and I drove away, and I thought, I'm finished, I'm off. I've done. I'm not Alan Bradley anymore.
Rita, it's okay, it's all right, Rita. It's over.
I just drove away and became me again, an out-of-work actor.
At number 7, a classic Corrie love triangle reached fever pitch when Tracy Barlow gate-crashed Steve and Karen's wedding with nightmare results.
Karen decides she wants a huge kind of Posh and Beck's wedding.
She wanted the dream.
Of course, Tracy Barlow comes in,
Roy, can you come outside, please?
announcing that her baby is in fact Steve's.
Is who the real father is? It was so camp, it was brilliant.
What did you just say?
It was that kind of like dynasty turn of what?
What did she say?
I said, Steve, that you're marrying is the baby's father.
You lying little whore.
Steve gets himself in all these scrapes because, he's an idiot.
Is it true?
Karen.
There's snot flaring everywhere and I've got it all down my face.
Are you all right?
Am I all right? Am I all right?
And then they had that brilliant, iconic fight with the shoe.
You vicious, evil, vindictive cow.
Kate's, she won't mind me saying this, slightly softer than I am. Maybe it's because I'm from Oldham. Who knows?
You touched me with that, Karen, and I'll be suing you with criminal injury, as well as getting child support out of him.
So she always looked a bit panicked. She was like, yeah, babes, what are you going to actually do with that stiletto, babes?
Dead people can't sue, Tracy.
Karen, don't make it worse.
How can this be anyway?
Because she means it. When it comes to screwing money out of people, she does it very well.
Oh, as opposed to just screwing people.
The years that I had at Corrie was so beautifully plotted that I couldn't have asked for anything better.
Coming up, there's a serial killer on the loose.
He was a character you could love to hate.
And we reveal your favourite Corrie moment.
Wonderful. Classic Coronation Street humour.
Welcome back to the final part of our search for the nation's favourite Coronation Street story. And at 6, when Les Battersby brought home a big bathtub in 2004, it wasn't just the neighbours that wondered what was going on.
Have you ever seen one of them?
When we first got the scripts for the big bath scene, it really was a case of, how are they going to do this?
Oh, it's a fizzy bath. It's a love tub.
And what am I going to be wearing?
I'll put Bubbles back on once we've necked this pizza. We'll risk it.
2's company, but 3's definitely a crowd, especially when it's Schmeichel the Great Dane.
We needed to have a piece of carpet on top of our knees.
You mustn't go up there.
So that when the dog jumped in, he didn't scratch us because he had huge claws.
Here's to us then.
It just was horrible. And, we were just begging this dog to jump in the bath and he wouldn't do it. Anne, who was Schmeichel's trainer, got into the bath in order to get Schmeichel to jump in for that final scene.
Flipping heck, that noise!
They were a classy family.
In 2006, Coronation Street said goodbye to one of its most popular characters after nearly 30 years in the street.
I was 70 and the rehearsals were getting longer. So I said to the governors, I'm afraid I've got to leave after this next contract.
We think that you have Alzheimer's disease.
The most poignant and the most wonderful moment that you should die in the arms of Ken, the so-called arch enemy.
You're in your pyjamas.
Yeah, but
were they enemies, really? They were just opposite sides of the same coin.
You shouldn't be here.
That scene, it was shot 11 o'clock at night, it was raining.
What are you doing here, Barlow?
Looking after you.
I don't need anybody looking after me.
We didn't have time to rehearse it properly because we kept dashing in and out of the rain. Suddenly the rain stopped and the director said, OK, let's just get out and do it.
There's something I've got to tell you about me and Deirdre.
I know.
What, she told you?
Mike, it was a long time ago.
We still went out fighting. Deirdre loves me. She's mine.
Mike! Mike!
When you see it, though, it's like the passing of something very important.
Come on! Oh, no! No.
Ken?
You miss on screen your sparring partner, and then you miss the actor.
When I finished the scene, I felt very upset. I thought, oh, well, that's it. Brought a tear to my eyes.
Time for another farewell at 4. Not so much goodbye as good riddance to the dastardly Charlie Stubbs.
They seem like a match made in heaven, like kind of a Bonnie and Clyde.
They were two evenly matched, nasty pieces of work.
Thought you might come to the bedroom last night.
You've got no chance, Charlie.
No, I'm out with a knife.
That's all it was about, gaining the upper hand, to the point where it destroyed both of them.
I've had enough of you, and so you're leaving and I'll throw you out by the scruff of the neck if I have to.
That was our exit storyline. We knew it was going to be something massive.
Oh, come on, let's forget Shelley's baby, forget Maria.
You couldn't. You hate me too much.
The nature of Charlie and the nature of Tracy, they wouldn't just go, all right, I'm going in a taxi, I'll see you later.
And what better way to go than death by seduction?
I am the best you'll ever have.
The worst thing probably was that dance. I've been in my flat sort of practicing this, what am I going to do? Because it said Tracy starts doing this sexy dance. I was like, oh no!
Poetic justice. A man who's been obsessed by women, obsessed by sex in lots of ways, is killed by a woman who is apparently about to offer him the best sex of his life.
Talk about sex as a weapon.
This is my Oscar. Everything that was non-contact, we used a really heavy statue, the real statue. And then this baby, this is the fake one, which is made out of foam. So when I actually had to hit Charlie's head with it, then it wouldn't hurt him. It was quite gruesome, really, I thought.
At 3, how Corrie turned up the heat when escaped jailbird Tony Gordon returned to wreak his revenge on those who had wronged him.
Getting the scripts was really exciting. It sounded like an episode of 24.
I would love to put a bullet right through your brain.
I loved being part of the siege at Underworld because I never get to do all those things in my wig and my anorak.
The snake cuts.
What do you want? And of course, I was most of the time tied up opposite Julie Hare's.
We learnt to understand each other when we were gagged, and we'd translate for each other. So they'd be like, I'd be like, where's the camera on this shot?
Tony!
Hayley!
Haley!
And I think I enjoyed it more than anybody else because I actually got out before it got really hard, before the fire and the smoke.
It's over!
It was quite a shock because all of a sudden there was this real danger in there.
Ali King wanted to do everything. She never, ever wanted a stunt double.
This year.
Me and Gray were laughing because everybody was walking around in these masks and we were like, oh yeah, safe are you? And we had none, you know.
And I'm feeling very, very close. Very, very claustrophobic, very smoky. I've never wanted to hear a cut so much in my life.
At number 2 in our countdown, another classic storyline full of mayhem. When serial killer Richard Hillman turned up in 2001, it was the start of a rollercoaster ride of death and destruction.
Richard Hillman.
There's nothing to be afraid of, Gail. Richard Hillman, he was a character you could love to hate. What's bothering you?
I'm wondering about things that have happened.
Gail was about to find out.
What about Patricia? Did you kill her?
Yes.
Oh, God. The whole episode was full of brilliant one-liners. You're Norman Bates with a briefcase. Isn't it fabulous? It's just great.
Put your arms out in front of you.
Hillman's reign of terror was about to take one last sinister turn.
This is it! I love you!
That shot of the car going in, it was shot, you know, it was like a rocket. It just came... whoosh.
It was only just over 4 foot of water, which nobody had realised, so the roof was still showing above. So they had to slice the top off the car, and divers had to go under and pull the top of the car down. The underwater sequence was shot over 2 days in a tank. Very exciting for us to do.
I don't swim, and I don't like water, and I certainly don't like putting my head underwater.
I wouldn't do it, but Helen did the underwater training where you go into a helicopter and they turn it upside down and drop it in the pool.
I'd never opened my eyes underwater, but in actual fact, once I did it, I found that quite easy. I had to go through this hoop because eventually I had to get out through the car window.
And therefore, she is entitled to fly out to North Sea oil rigs, and I'm not.
It was fantastic, and to look back on it now, it was Brian. It wouldn't have been the same without him. He did it, really. I just tagged along.
We've enjoyed the very best of Coronation Street, from its tears and terror to its love and laughter.
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir?
And now it's finally time to reveal what you voted as the greatest Corrie moment from the first 50 years.
Somebody tell us what's going on.
The street has a tradition of strong women. She was definitely one of those.
I'm not having this baby brought up by 2 men, even if one of them does wear a frock.
That?
She was vile in every way, but yet universally adored.
It's a funny-looking thermometer, this.
It's rectal, but it's been through the dishwasher.
At number 1, it's an unforgettable story starring the sadly missed Maggie Jones. Yep, with 50 moments to choose from, you've voted Blanche and the Alcoholic Support Group meeting the greatest Coronation Street storyline ever.
I've never heard so much self-indulgent whinging in all my life. Blanche.
She had the privilege of old age where she could say whatever she wanted to.
Well, we don't... They say that alcohol loosens the tongue. Well, you must have talked 10 to the dozen with drink inside you.
And what Blanche brought to it was the humour through the darkness, really.
Is there some correlation between how boring you are and how much you drink?
What we normally do at this point is let other people in the group reflect on what the speaker's just said.
And what am I doing? Chewing corn for gummy parrots?
Nearly every scene that we did with Maggie, we had to have laughing time in the rehearsal. There would always be some point where we'd crack up.
You could write a gag for her and you knew that she wouldn't sell it short.
Blanche was never going to let this chance pass to parade the Barlow's dirty washing.
Ken recently had an affair with an actress. She lived on a tugboat.
It was a barge.
It's only wonder why I drink. And I sort of realised at the time, you know, that Maggie had completely come in and stole the whole thing.
Maybe the way this family works has contributed to his drinking.
Well, it didn't make Tracy hit the bottle.
No, but it made her hit her boyfriend with a blunt instrument.
She'd have gone to the gallows, she'd have gone to the floggings. Oh, yeah.
I've had enough of this. I need a drink. Come on, Mother. We're going.
I must apologise to my family. I'm hijacking a meeting like this.
Brilliant, brilliant. Genius.
She's just sitting in this chair, quite oblivious to the hand grenade that she threw into that room.
The scenes when the Barlow family were at the meeting, in some ways, I think, are quintessentially Coronation Street.
I'm not totally comfortable with this lady being here.
I'm not totally comfortable with your halitosis.
I think it is that combination of drama and comedy, grit and warmth, that actually probably is what makes ultimately Coronation Street the special thing that it is.
It isn't exactly the bar of the Rovers Return, is it?
Just as well. This lot a bit foaming at the mouth.
Such an embarrassment, but wonderful. Classic Coronation Street humour, classic Blanche, and Maggie Jones was such a brilliant actress. Her timing was always spot on.
Wait till you try bingo. You'll hyperventilate.